Hi, this is Joanne Hewins from lovetocreate.typepad.com. It's been a couple of weeks since I've had a chance to do a video, but today I'm going to do one showing you how to make this card using the Merry Moose stamp set. And this is in the holiday catalog. If you don't have a holiday catalog, this is what it looks like. And send me a message. I'll be happy to get one out to you if you don't have a demonstrator already. And the Merry Moose is on page 27 of the catalog. And the thing that I love about this stamp is that it has a coordinating punch that goes with it. I just love punches. They're just so easy and quick to use. So we'll be using these two things, and we'll also be using a saying from Itty Bitty Birthdays. We'll be using the Awesome at Any Age. And then we'll also be using a saying with Animal Outing, which is the Wild About You. I made this card to show that the moose is not just for Christmas. So we made a birthday card. Now this card has been through a couple of classes and it has come out the worse for wear. You can see that some fingerprints are on there on the inside. There's some smudges, but that just happens after it goes through a class, and I'm just happy people come to class and make my cards. So I just know that that's part of the process. So let's get started. Another thing that we're going to be using today are these masks, and they are called the Basic Pattern Decorative Mask. And this is on page 35. I believe, yes, 35 of the holiday catalog. And it's down here in the corner, and I just feel like probably a lot of people have missed seeing this. It's just not very prominent. And the masks in here are just fantastic. The tree one that we're going to use today, and then there are three others in here that are great for any time. You have the dots, then you have these leaf patterns. That wouldn't be just for fall. I mean, think about the flowers that you use all year long. And then this kind of a scroll type, filament type mask. So I'm hoping that these will carry over when they have the new catalog next spring, because I think these could be used just so much. So today we're going to be using the trees, and this one has a lot of places that I think, as we're using sponges and stuff, that could bend and make it hard to use for future uses. But as I said, this has been through several classes, and look, it is in perfect condition. I asked them to be careful, they listened, and I'm just really pleased with how that turned out. So let's talk about how we're going to do all of this. And I'm going to bring in just a half a sheet of paper. I'm going to line my mask up on one of the grid lines. I just want to make sure that it's straight. And then I'm just going to pull in some painter's tape and tape along the top of this, trying to keep that straight. It's hard to see with the camera going, sorry about that. So I'm just going to go across there. When I open this up, that is straight across that line. And then I'm going to put another row of painter's tape down here at the bottom. Now the thing about that is that it's going to lift up pretty easily. And so I am going to lift it up. And then I'm going to bring in my cardstock. Now, let me say to you that I have every color of cardstock. I always have every color of cardstock, but for some reason, I let myself run out of soft suede. I have it ordered, but of course it's not here yet. So today we're going to be using crumb cake instead of soft suede for our card. I have a piece of cardstock that is 5.5 by 8.5. I'm just going to match my corners. And then we'll use a bone folder to kind of burnish that fold. Then I'm going to use my mask. And what I'm going to do is pull this up. I'm going to lay my card in here. I'm also going to lay that straight on one of the grid lines. Then I'm going to bring this down and tape it. And hopefully my cardstock will stay in here straight. So I'm going to bring in a crumb cake sponge dauber since I'm using crumb cake paper. On my original, I used the soft suede and also used soft suede for my trees. But we're going to switch that out and see how it works. So I'm trying this kind of for the first time. Now for the background, I'm going to kind of sponge around the whole thing. Gosh, that almost looks as dark as the soft suede would have looked. Okay, but notice there's going to be this panel that goes in front of that. So I'm just going to color in about 1/4 of an inch with my sponge dauber all the way around. And I probably should have paid extra attention to the fact that I want my card to go below this tape so that I can actually get to it. And I'm not so sure that I did. So I've got the top part, enough of the top part done. And you can see what I'm saying about this one might be a little bit harder to keep it from bending. But I'm just going to hold it down and go around and do a little at a time. And once again, I only need to do about 1/2 an inch or so, 1/4 of an inch. So it really doesn't take that long to go around and do this. Let me just do this last side here. Oops, move that around just a little. Sometimes it doesn't pay to try to be in a hurry. I don't want to be the one who bends that after it's been through a whole class, do I? So I think that has it. So I'm just going to slip this out. And yes, I've got my, and it did work out up there. So I've got that all the way around the edges. So now I'm going to pull in my Seaside Spray piece. This one is going to be a background for the Seaside Spray. It is cut at 3 3/4 by 5. So this one is just a little bit smaller, 3 5/8 times 4 7/8. But I will link this video to my blog post that goes with this, and all the measurements will be on there. So I'm going to kind of pull this up again. And again, I want to make sure that I get my card piece straight on the grid lines. Then I'm going to pull this down and just tape that again. And this time, I do have to tape color over the entire layer that's there. So this will take a little bit longer, but maybe not too bad. I think the Merry Moose is going to be a very popular stamp set. And not only for Christmas, but for nature scenes. And I can see using the snowfront with that stamp set and featuring a moose kind of in the foreground or in an oval or focal point. I can see using some of the elements of the nature's, what is that, Nature's Beauty that's in the very back of the catalog. Kind of using some of the elements of all of that together. So I think it's a very versatile set. And of course for Christmas, because it's got that cute little Merry Christmas stamp in there. I just think that's so cute. But for other times as well. Now when I finish with this, I'll probably take my mask later and just hold it under the sink and just get all of the ink off of there, but it should come off very easily. There's no big time crunching getting it done because there's nothing that's going to dry permanently on there. I noticed the other day that I have 50 videos on my YouTube channel now. I hope you'll check those out. This was a project or something that I wanted as a goal, actually, I guess, for this past year, was to add in some video. And it's turned out to be quite fun to do. I'm certainly not a professional by any means of the word, but it's been fun, and I hope to continue with it. And maybe someday I'll get enough nerve up to add Facebook Lives in. So far, I'm kind of happy with you not seeing my face. But, oh well. All right, so I've got that covered. And once again, I did use crumb cake instead of the soft suede. So I'm just going to set this aside. It would be ready for me to make more cards if I wanted. And I'm going to go ahead and put these layers together. So I'm going, no I'm not. I'm going to go ahead and add my snow. So I've got a piece of paper that's maybe 1 1/4. It was just a scrap that I had. And I'm just going to tear part of this. And I've got it kind of even, but it wouldn't have to be. Is that long enough? Not quite long enough. I'll just do it all the way across. And then I'll just add some snail across the bottom here. Okay. And then I'll just turn this over and trim that. I like to use pieces that are a little bit longer than I actually need, because then I can trim it to exactly the right size. And, you know, oftentimes if you go ahead and cut all of that, it ends up being just a tiny, tiny bit too short. And then, well, you know what? I don't think I cut that correctly. Okay, which did I cut wrong? The blue. Okay. All right, I sure left it too long. I'm going to have to go get a cutter. Please excuse me for a moment. I apologize. I was hoping not to have to run and pick up something. This is just one of the old cutters that we no longer have, but it was easy for me to pick up just then. Okay. So again, this is 3 3/4 by 5. So this would be 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. And then we add that to the base here. Now I didn't try to match my branches and make it all look like one big piece. I felt like there was enough chaos to it all that it would kind of work anyway. Now I have to say that I do like the soft suede better than the crumb cake. Sorry about that. Than the crumb cake, but it will be fine. All right. Now for the saying here, like I said, this is going to come from Animal Outing. It's the Wild About You. So I think I'm going to go ahead and stamp that here. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and work with the moose and the raccoon. I've got some white scrap here, and I'm going to stamp those in Early Espresso. Now I know that we usually stamp, when we're going to use blends, we usually stamp with Memento Black. But I just felt like I'd like to keep with the same coloring, and it seemed to work just fine. So we'll do that. And let me get the blends then. So we are going to use, to color all of this, our light and dark crumb cake, the light and dark soft suede. Those actually look the same. Nope. And then the light and dark smoky slate. So I'm going to color the moose first, and I'm just going to color him all over in light crumb cake. And I just kind of traced around there. And then I'm going to turn it to the larger side and finish coloring him in. This is still with the light crumb cake. And then I'm just going to go, oops, in with my dark crumb cake and color in just kind of where these lines already are. Okay, and then I'm going to come back in with the light crumb cake and just blend that in just a little. I'm really not going to go back down those legs again. Okay, and so that gets the moose. And then for the raccoon, I'm going to color him in the light smoky slate. And I'm just going to color him all over, kind of like I did the moose. And then I'm going to come back in with the dark and just color in again some of those darker spots. Okay. I'm not so great on knowing exactly where to shade, so that seems to serve me well. Okay, and then I'm going to use the light soft suede to color in the log. Do a little bit of highlighting with that darker color. Again, just kind of going over where they had lines before. And then just kind of coloring again over the whole thing. Okay, now, as I said before, the moose has a punch. So I'm just going to turn this over and center him in here. And there he is. And then we are going to have to fussy cut the raccoon. So let me get my scissors. And we'll go around him as best we can. I think I'm going to cut and get some of that excess off. I'm about to cut my finger. Okay. So probably this little branch right here is the hardest thing to cut. But I do like to try to leave a little bit of white. Around the outside. And I do try to turn the paper more than I turn my scissors. Now, because the moose has such skinny legs, I'm not going to attempt to put him on dimensionals. I'm just going to glue him down. So we'll just glue both of these down to our card. And you don't want to get much on those legs. So I'll put him down over here. And then we'll put the raccoon. Down here. And then there is a stamp set, a stamp that goes along with this that does the footprints. I failed to get that out, so let me just take off this one and we'll put this on. And I'm going to use crumb cake for the footprints underneath the moose. So they'll go right under there. Got a little bit of a smudge there. So you could pull in one of these mono erasers and work on trying to get some of that out, but I don't know, maybe it doesn't look too much like it's not part of the tracks. That gets it a little bit. Okay, so there it is. There's the front of the card, and I realized that I didn't bring in my piece of white to do the inside, but I'll show you what I did on the inside of the card. I used this stamp set, or this stamp, Awesome at Any Age, and again that is from the Itty Bitty Birthdays stamp set, and then just added a moose, and since we've already colored the moose once, you don't really need to see that again. So I think that's just something you can look at and you'll know exactly what you need to do. So you can see how easy it is to use the mask, and they are called the Basic Pattern Decorative Mask. And there are 4 of them in the pack, and I think, let me check the price. They are only $6, so that is a deal, believe me. So I hope you'll get those. I hope you'll make it. There will be a link to my online store with this video. I appreciate you watching so much, and we'll see you another day. Bye-bye.